Welcome to the NFL Week 3 Sports Betting Picks video here at 4deepbets.com. I am your host, Benny Ricciardi, and we're going to be taking a look at the opening lines from DraftKings and FanDuel to see if we can find some early week value. The first game we're going to talk about is the Thursday night football game between the New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers. The Giants are 1-1 on the season, coming off a win against the Arizona Cardinals, 31-28. It was a comeback win. And the big news in that game at the end of the game is that Saquon Barkley went out with an injury. So we're going to have to see what happens with Saquon throughout the week. Again, running backs are not usually people who move the spread very much. Saquon would be one of those guys, probably move it about a full point or so, whether he's in or out. If he's out for this game, I would get San Francisco should be favored by a little bit over 10 points. If he is in, San Francisco should probably be favored by a little bit more, like 9 points. So I think FanDuel actually has it right at that minus 10.5 here, but pretty much on market. Like I said, I'm assuming Saquon's not going to play with the way he was looking at the end of that last game. So if that's the case, then the San Francisco 49ers should be a 10-point favorite. And unfortunately, that means there's not a lot of value on this one. Now we move on to the 1 o'clock games on Sunday. And the first one I want to talk about here is the Los Angeles Chargers against the Minnesota Vikings. Chargers are 0-2 coming off a loss to the Tennessee Titans 27-24 last week. Minnesota also 0-2 coming off a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles 34-28 on Thursday Night Football. Now, we do have to make a little bit of an adjustment on the Vikings side because the Vikings do have a little bit of extra rest here. And when I make that adjustment, I actually get that Minnesota should be favored by about 3 points in this game. I thought this should be Minnesota favored by a field goal here. So if you look, the Chargers are actually the team that's favored on both DraftKings and FanDuel, which means that I think we have some value on Minnesota. Now, since I like Minnesota as the favorite here, when the spread is like 1.5 points, as you can see on FanDuel, the money line is the same on both sides of this. So it's basically like a coin flip, basically like a pick 'em here. I think the best thing to do is actually just play the money line, if you're going to wind up betting this. So Vikings at minus 105 over on DraftKings is the best place to play it. The next game up, the New England Patriots taking on the New York Jets. The Patriots are currently playing. We do this video on Sunday night while Sunday Night Football is going on. So that's probably the reason why neither DraftKings nor FanDuel has a lineup yet for this game. When I break the numbers down on this game, though, I basically get that the New York Jets should be favored in this game by about a point or so. So not really much movement one way or another. We'll have to see how the Patriots come out of this game. Maybe the Patriots look, much better. Currently, it's getting close to halftime. The Patriots are down 10-0 to Miami here. Like I said, there's really not a lot that we could say about this one. I would think that the Jets come out as a small favorite in this game. If the Patriots happen to be favored, same thing as I said last game, Jets on the money line would probably be the way to go. Next game, we're going to talk about the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Indianapolis is 1-1 on the season. They're coming off a win over Houston, 31-20. Big news in that game, though, Anthony Richardson left the game early with a concussion. Now, he did have 2 touchdowns rushing before he left the game. And like I said, Indianapolis did win that game. Gardner Minshew came in to play quarterback after Richardson was out. I would think that Richardson's worth about 2 to 3 points to the spread, depending on whether or not he plays. So we'll talk about this game both ways right here. Then you guys can make your decision as the news comes out throughout the week. Baltimore is 2-0. They're coming off a big win against the Cincinnati Bengals, 27-24. So when I break this game down with Richardson in, I would think the spread on this game should be somewhere around like minus 6.5. Without him in, I think the spread on this game should be somewhere around 9. As you can see, the books kind of split the difference here. So Ravens minus 8 on DraftKings, Ravens minus 8.5 over on FanDuel. If Richardson's out, take the Ravens minus 8 over there on DraftKings. If Richardson does happen to be in and you can still get it, take the Colts plus the 8.5 over there on FanDuel. Now, again, I don't know if he's going to play or not. We may not have that news till later on in the week, and these numbers might move there. If you want to take a shot at it, like I said, if Richardson plays, I think the spread should have been minus 6.5. If he doesn't play, I think it should be minus 9. So whether or not he plays, there's going to be value on one side of this game or the other. Until we have more information, though, you're basically just rolling the dice. He is in concussion protocol. We'll see if he's able to, work that out throughout the week and whether or not he's going to wind up playing this weekend. There is still no Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. So if they don't have Richardson, they don't have Taylor. That's why you see such a big number here with the Ravens. Next game up, the Tennessee Titans taking on the Cleveland Browns. Tennessee 1-1 on the year, coming off a win over the Los Angeles Chargers 27-24. Cleveland is 1-0 on the season. They play on a Monday Night Football game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Obviously, if you guys are listening to this after Monday and you see something that happens in that Monday night game, it could wind up changing the spread around a little bit. But let's assume that everybody comes out of that game healthy and the Browns do, what they're supposed to do, put up at least a decent showing, whether they win or they lose, as long as they put up a decent showing here. The power ranking's not going to move that much, which is not going to move the spread all that much. With that being said, when I break this game down, I get the Browns should be favored by about 5 points in this game. Although I will say this, you probably want to make a little bit of an adjustment because they are on a short week if they're playing on Monday Night Football. So maybe 4 points is probably where it should be. 4.5. I usually adjust about 1 point if a team is on short rest. So I would agree with the FanDuel -4 here. Again, pretty much on market. I don't think there's a lot of value in this game. I think it'll be a good football game, but not anything that's great for us in the betting world. Next game up, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Detroit Lions. Atlanta is 2-0 on the year. They're coming off a come-from-behind victory over the Green Bay Packers, 25-24 last weekend. Detroit 1-1 on the season. They are coming off losing in the last couple minutes to the Seattle Seahawks, 37-31 in that game. When I break my numbers down on this one, I get Detroit should be favored by 4.5 points. The Lions are 4.5 over on DraftKings, so right on market there. On FanDuel, they're 4.5, but they are juiced down a little bit at -105, meaning that this number is probably more likely to go down to -4 at some point, which would, not surprise me if it does. Even if it does, though, I don't think there's a lot of value in this game. Again, if this was a key number around 3 that we were moving forward, I would feel a little more comfortable of maybe saying, okay, well, if it gets to that number, we can go on the other side. But whether it's 4 or 4.5, not really anything I'm interested in. Like I said, my number's 4.5, so we're pretty much on market. Next game up, the New Orleans Saints against the Green Bay Packers. New Orleans is 1-0. They're another one of those teams that plays on Monday night. Remember, there's 2 Monday night football games in week 2. There's going to be 2 Monday night football games in week 3 as well. So, this is something that the league has started doing, which makes it a little bit tough here because, again, got to see what happens in that Saints game. Got to make sure that everybody comes out of that game okay. Make sure that nobody's hurt before we can really say what we want to do here. Now, again, because the Saints are playing on Monday Night Football, they're also on short rest. We had to make a little bit of an adjustment there. With the adjustment, I actually get the Green Bay Packers should be favored by about 3 points in this game. So the fact that we can get them below 3 on both DraftKings and FanDuel means that there is a little bit of value in this game that we can look at here. I actually like the Packers laying the -1. I would even give the -1.5 points with the Packers over on FanDuel. That would be the way I take it. Like I said, I think it should be -3. So we're getting about 1.5 of value right there, and we're capturing that 3, which is a number that, a higher than average number of NFL games end up on a field goal. So I like the Packers. I would give the 1.5 points right there. That's the way that I would be playing this game. Next game up, we have the Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Houston is 0-2 on the year. They're coming off a loss to the Indianapolis Colts, 31-20, as we mentioned a little earlier. Jacksonville 1-1 on the season, coming off a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, 17-9. When I break down the numbers on this game, I actually get Jacksonville should be favored by 10. So -9 is a little bit too low. The -8.5 on FanDuel is actually the better place to play it. If you're going to play it there, you got about 1.5 of value. I do think it's a good thing to do. I also love the idea of taking the Jaguars and teasing them down to -2.5. Anytime you can tease something from 8.5 down to 2.5, you're going through the 7, you're going through the 3. Those are 2 major key numbers in the NFL. This is called the Wong teaser. It is the most profitable teaser legs that you can have. When you can take a home team, tease them through the 7, tease them through the 3. You want to do that every time. So over on FanDuel, you want the Jaguars to be part of your teaser right there. Take a 6-point teaser, get them down to 2.5. That's a great way to play it. And again, because my number's -10, I don't even mind if you play the Jaguars straight up. Next game, we have the Denver Broncos taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Broncos are 0-2 on the year, coming off a loss to the Washington Commanders, 35-33. Miami is playing on Sunday Night Football currently against the New England Patriots. Again, making sure everybody gets out of that game without any injuries. We're doing this at halftime. So again, we don't know how any of that's going to work itself out. If there are some injuries there will be some adjustments. And if you guys really want to know exactly what the number is after those adjustments, after those injuries, get over to 4deep.com, sign up for an account. We'll be in the Discord. Make sure if you guys have an account that you click on that chat button and get into the Discord. There is so much going on in the Discord, not just for the NFL, but for all the sports that we cover here. That is the best place to get the most up-to-date information that we have available to offer. and it's only available to our subscribers. 25% off all those packages right now. So get over there to 4deep.com. When I break down the numbers on this game, I get Miami should be favored by about 5 points. So we'll have to see what the numbers come out, the spreads come out as when they do drop. But on a neutral field, I would get Miami's about 3 points better. Being that this game is in Miami, you got to add something in for the home field advantage. So that's why I think Miami -5 is the number that I'd be looking for. Next game up, we got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Washington Commanders. Buffalo is 1-1 on the year, coming off a win against the Las Vegas Raiders, 38-10, after a loss to my New York Jets in their first game on Monday night. On the other side of this game, the Washington Commanders are now 2-0, coming off a win against the Denver Broncos, 35-33. So when I broke this game down, I got that Buffalo should be favored by about 3 to 3.5 points. So I think this -6, 6.5 may be a little bit too high. I don't think they're giving enough respect to the Washington Commanders, who seem to be a pretty decent team. The defense is really good. The offense is serviceable enough. Again, Buffalo looked really good this week. And I don't think they could have put it down as low as I have it down with Buffalo at 3.5. Because if they did put it at Buffalo 3.5, I think a lot of money would have came in on a bill. So they put it up to -6. But again, I think -6 is too many points. So I'm actually on the Commander side of this game. Commanders plus 6.5 over on FanDuel would be the place I want to play it. Now we move on to the first of the 4 o'clock games, and that's going to be the Carolina Panthers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Panthers are 0-1. They are another one of those teams that plays on Monday Night Football. They play against the New Orleans Saints. Again, check, make sure all those guys come out of this game okay. If it's a skill position player of importance, it's not going to move the spread more than maybe 1 point or so. If it's a, quarterback, then maybe it does move the spread a little bit more. So we'll have to see how that all works itself out. Seattle is 1-1 on the year. They're coming off their first win against the Detroit Lions, 37-31. Come from behind victory where, Tyler Lockett got a touchdown at the end to give them that big victory. So congratulations to Seattle. When I break this game down, I get Seattle should be favored by 3.5 points. It was actually 2.5 points. And then we have to take about a point away or so because Carolina is going to be on short rest with them playing on Monday night. And that's how I got it to 3.5 points right there. So the 4.5 does feel a little bit too rich for me. Now, again, I don't want to get too crazy about it. It's not something I would put a bet in on now. I'd rather wait till Monday night, see what the Panthers do on Monday night. And then if the Panthers on Monday night don't look good, then yeah, I don't think the 4.5 is crazy. If the Panthers do look good, though, I want to take that plus 4.5 with the Panthers because I do think it is a little bit high. Next game up, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Dallas 2-0, coming off of wins over both New York teams, beating the Giants in New York and then beating the Jets in Dallas last week by a score of 30-10. Arizona is 0-2 on a year. They're coming off a loss to that New York Giants team, 31-28, that Dallas absolutely blew the doors off in the Giants' home stadium in the opener here. So needless to say, you would expect the Cowboys to be a big favorite, and they are a big favorite in this game. When I break down my numbers, I get 13 should be the points here. 12.5 is the number that both of the books have. I mean, we're really splitting hairs, 12.5, 13. It's not like there's a ton of value or that number is way off from where it should be right there. I think the Cowboys are going to roll over the Cardinals here. I think they're going to beat them pretty easily. Do I want to lay 12.5 points though? No, I really don't want to lay 12.5 points, especially on a road team here, but I would not be shocked. That Dallas defense looks really, really good. It's going to take a very good offense playing very well to unlock them. And I don't think the Cardinals have the ability to be that very good offense that could unlock them. So if I had to pick a side on this game, it would be Dallas -12.5. But like I said, I'm probably staying away from it. My number's pretty much on market at -13. Next game up, the Chicago Bears taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Bears are 0-2 on a year, coming off a loss to Tampa Bay, 27-17. Kansas City 1-1 on the year, lost to Detroit in the opener, beat Jacksonville 17-9 last week. When I break down my numbers on this game, I get Kansas City should be favored by 12 points. Now, again, 12, 12.5, 13, 12.5. Like, there's not a lot of value in this game right here. The Chiefs are at home. If you want to tease them down below 6.5, I don't think that's a crazy thing to do. Do I love it? I mean, you are getting through 10, which is a semi-key number. You're getting through 7, which is also a pretty key number. But really, I don't want to take big numbers with the Chiefs. I've learned my lesson on doing that. The Chiefs are a team that tend to win a lot of games, but when you look at their record against the spread, it's usually below average or, around 50% or so. So again, 12.5 is a ton of points to be asking a team to take. I would rather do it with a home team like the Chiefs than a road team like the Dallas Cowboys. But really, I don't want to mess with any spreads that are this big. So now we move on to the Sunday night football game, which is going to be between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Pittsburgh 0-1. They do play on Monday Night Football against Cleveland. So again, another one of those teams where you got to make sure everybody gets through that game all right, make sure there are no major injuries before we really, nail all this down. The Las Vegas Raiders are 1-1 on the year. They're coming off a loss to Buffalo 38-10 in their last game. When I break the numbers down on this game, remember, with the Steelers playing on Monday night, you actually got to take a little bit away from them. With the Raiders being home, you actually give them a little bump for home field advantage. When you put all that together, I think the Raiders should be the team that's favored here, not the Steelers. So I have the Raiders should be favored by 3 points. Now, with the Raiders getting a point on both sides, with the Raiders being plus money over there on FanDuel, I like the fact that we can get the Raiders at plus money when I think they should be favored by a field goal. I think there's a lot of value here on this Las Vegas Raiders side. I really like the Raiders plus 104 over on FanDuel on the money line, not even messing with the spreads. Take them straight up on the money line. That's the way I'm looking to do it. Now we move on to the first of the 2 Monday Night Football games we have for week 3, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Eagles are 2-0 on the year, coming off a win Thursday night against the Minnesota Vikings, 34-28. Tampa Bay also 2-0 on the year, coming off a win over the Chicago Bears, 27-17 in their last game. When I break all of this down, I get that Philadelphia should be favored by only 3.5 points. Now, again, like I said, I think it was Buffalo. I forget who the other team we were talking about that was only favored by 3.5. But this feels like too many points for me with the Eagles at 6.5. I don't really love that. Again, I've been higher on Tampa Bay all season long. I talked about them in week 1 as a team I really liked against Minnesota. Talked about them last week as well. Tampa Bay has been doing their thing. They've been winning. They've been covering. So far, I don't look like I'm wrong by overvaluing them. This might be the game where it comes back to bite me. But again, I'm going to stick with what I'm getting from my numbers. There are a lot of talented players on this Tampa Bay team. Yes, they don't have the quarterback. They don't have Tom Brady back there anymore. They have Baker Mayfield. But I still think this is a really good team. And I think not a really good team. I should say a good enough team that people are sleeping on and undervaluing here. So I think this should only be about 3.5 points. Therefore, I think we have value on the Buccaneers at plus 6.5. And that brings us to the last game, which is the Los Angeles Rams against the Cincinnati Bengals. Rams are 1-1, coming off a loss to San Francisco 30-23. Nothing to sneeze at, though. That was a good game that they played there. The Rams have looked good in both games that they played this year, and they've been playing without Cooper Kupp. Cincinnati is 0-2, coming off a loss to Baltimore 27-24. Cincinnati, on the other hand, has not looked good in either of the 2 games that they have played. I get Cincinnati should only be favored by about 3 points in this game. I think 6.5 is just way too many points here. DraftKings has the plus 6.5 at an even minus 110, whereas FanDuel has it at minus 115. I would much rather play it over on DraftKings at that minus 110 number. Get a couple extra pennies on the dollar for what you're looking at here. But I think there's a lot of value on the Rams at plus 6.5 when I think the number should only be minus 3. I also love the idea of teasing them up to 12.5. Listen, the Bengals, they just do not look good right now, and it's going to take them a little time. Once they get together, they are a very talented roster. I don't think Joe Burrow's 100%. I don't think Joe Burrow's right now. And because of that, I think now is the time to kind of take advantage of it. I do think the Bengals win this game, but I think 6.5 is too many points. And there you go. That's going to wrap it up for our look at the opening lines for Week 3 NFL here at 4deep.com. Remember, you can get over to 4deep.com right now, 25% off the weekly and monthly packages. Sign up. You could also get closer to 40% off if you sign up for the rest of the season. Now's the perfect time to do it. 4deep.com/pricing-card right up there on the screen. Get over there and check it out. This is Benny Ricciardi from 4Deep signing off. Good luck this week, everybody.